Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We bring you...
Nobody's going to want to watch this if you're opening it like that.
Come on, man. That's a good opening.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages.
Sunday,
Pillar of Salt
come to
proudly
mass.
brings to you the 2010 Best Games of the Decade.
Welcome to Pillar of Salt, everybody.
This is the Pillar of Salt podcast. I'm your co-host, Ryan. These are my pals, George and Mike.
I'm George.
And I'm Mike.
Yeah.
And today we're talking about the best games, the objectively best games of the 2010s. Not like those other lists. Not like those hacks, those partisan hacks who give you their favorites. No, these are the best games, hands down.
Those people have problems.
They do. Our games are the actual best games. Not the games that the man is trying to tell you.
The kind of games you'll get nude for. Those kinds of games.
And so, in my opinion, you know, the criteria for what makes a game the best game, personally, it's how fun it is, but most importantly, how impactful it was at the time that it came out, and like the effect that it had on gaming. You know, like a game that was like pretty good, but you kind of forgot about it, that doesn't matter. But a game that like changed the face of gaming for the rest of the decade, that's a pretty good game, and it was also really fun.
Oh, yeah.
So that's my criteria.
I guess so. Who's gonna start it? We got to do it like a top 5, like real exciting for each of us.
Well, I'm gonna start with number 5 down at the bottom. It's an old one. It's a good one. It barely scraped in back at like 2010. It's your boy Mass Effect 2, baby.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got.
You beat that game?
Of course I did. What do you mean?
Huh.
I don't think anyone's ever beaten that game, Ryan.
Yeah.
It's not even that. It was like a 30-hour game. It's not even that long.
That game has a 0.1% completion rate.
That's him. He's the .1.
Yeah, that was just you.
Nah, dude, you take everything that was good about Mass Effect 1, you completely overhaul the combat to be way faster, way more fluid. You remove the most annoying characters and replace them with much cooler alien characters. You have still to this day, the cutest romance subplot in any game, which is the romance with Jack subplot.
Do you get to fuck like the prostitute that's also like a senator or something for some reason?
No. I mean, you could do that, but she fucking kills you.
1 out of 10. That game's awful.
But the cutest romance, and this is why it's the best romance in any game. The cutest romance is the one where you don't even get to have sex with the character.
The incel one.
You get the achievement. It's just like blue balled, like. Pshing.
Yeah, and I mean, anybody who's played the game knows that like the dialogue is really compelling, and it's really fun to go through and see the different versions of Shepard. Both male Shepard and female Shepard had like some of the best voice acting in games, like really, really iconic voices.
Did you want to have a little eulogy as well?
What, a eulogy?
Yeah.
Oh, because Shepard is dead?
Because
Mass Effect
is dead.
Oh.
I mean, Mass Effect, I don't know. I didn't even play 3, and like it's crazy because 2 when it came out was my favorite game for like unironically my favorite game for years, and then 3 came out and like something smelled funny, you know, and I just waited for a little while. I started seeing all the reviews and I'm like, yep, see, I knew it, and I didn't want my experience with 2 to be tainted, and it was just so satisfying and good. It didn't feel like it needed more of an ending.
Yeah.
And just to briefly touch on it, because I want to say, so you have this little romance with Jack, and halfway through the romance, she comes in. And
which one is Jack?
Jack is the bald human character. She's like, you've rescued her from like this bionic testing facility, so they've been like fucking with her head.
Okay. Like
and so she's like one of the strongest bionics on your team, but she's crazy.
She's like the girl from Firefly.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so you're talking to her, and she's like, she's emotionally damaged. She's kind of distant. She doesn't want to be close to you, and like you keep coming up to her and talking to her, and she's just like, she doesn't want anything to do with you the whole time. And then like you slowly, you build up and eventually there's this scene where she comes up and she's just like, "What do you want, huh? Like, why are you doing this to me? Why are you so nice to me all the time?" And you pretty much get an option where you could just be like, "Oh, it's because I want to fuck you." And then she's like, "Oh, okay." And then you get a sex scene.
The renegade point.
But then after that,
the renegade choice is just drops pants with like asterisks.
No, I mean pretty much. Yeah, that's pretty much. It's not, and it's not presented like a renegade choice like some of the other ones. It's just like it's hard to remember because it was a long time ago. But you just have the choice.
She seems like to be not into it though.
Well, it's not that she's not into it. It's that she like doesn't trust you and she thinks that's all you care about. But if you say no, and you say no, I actually care about you. Yeah.
This sounds like a borderline rape scene.
No,
in the Mass Effect universe.
Look, just let me finish it so we can move on.
Okay.
So, she comes up to you and she says, what are you looking for? Why are you working me, essentially? And then you say, it's because I want to fuck you. And then she's like, oh, okay. And then she fucks you because that's what she thinks you're into. And then she's like, not really. And then that's the end of your emotional development with this character. But if you say no, it really pisses her off. She doesn't want to talk to you for a while. And then later on, you get the romance to come back. And then eventually, you get a cuddle scene where you spoon her and it's very sweet. And you can't actually get a sex scene if you're nice to her. But it's okay because the cuddle scene is so much cuter.
Ryan, that doesn't sound very Christian. Why don't you go on to the next game? And I hope this one is more Christian than the last one.
It sounded like a Harvey Weinstein is the captain.
Give me one of your guys' number 5. Put yourself.
I want to just do yours first. I guess we could
go all the way to my number 1.
Okay. I'll do my number 5. My number 5 is Cuphead. And my
Cuphead.
I guess my criteria is a little different from Ryan's. But I just kind of have reasons that I like the games that I think they're very good. Cuphead, aside from obvious reasons, which is that like the art is amazing, the art is about as amazing as it can get, and the music is really good. The game is actually also really well designed, and it's a lot of fun. And I think a lot of the reason it's fun is because they're like, okay, well, we got run and gun. Let's just remove all the levels and only make it bosses. And I love boss rushes, and people don't do them enough. People don't do boss rushes enough. They're amazing. And Cuphead is one of those games where no matter how many bosses there are, like, I played through the game twice. I played through it in normal mode and I beat it in expert mode. And Cuphead is one of those games where none of the bosses felt like bullshit to me. Nothing felt like random. Nothing felt like... It always felt like I died because I messed up.
What about the dragon boss?
The dragon is so easy. The dragon's one of the easiest bosses. I think.
See,
the dragon was the fewest.
What would you say is the hardest?
Okay, so the hardest between both difficulties was the bird in World 2 on expert because he was insane. I don't recall the exact reasons, but I remember that one gave me so much frustration. And my niece and nephew were watching while I was playing it, and they loved it. They were laughing the whole time at my misery. But I love Cuphead. I can't wait for the DLC. Fantastic game.
Yeah, one of the reasons. So the reason I love Cuphead, and the reason I think that it, I wouldn't pick it, but I think it deserves an honorable mention at least, is that, one, it does what every run and gun needs, which is it has an active block for bullets. Not nearly enough run and guns have a way to actively block or parry bullets.
Cuphead does not have an active block. It has a dodge, and it has a parry that you can use on
block
pink
the pink
objects.
That's what I mean.
Yeah,
so some objects you can parry.
Yeah, that's what I
mean. But
the
dodge is usually enough to get away, so...
But and then the other thing, talking about one of the things that I think is so interesting is when you talk to people about the boss they think is the hardest in the game, and this is why I think the bosses are like so fair. Everybody has a different answer for like, oh no, this is the real motherfucker.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, and I can certainly understand like why people think certain bosses are much harder than others because like a bunch of them are a pain in the ass.
I mean, the one problem with Cuphead is that there's no cute female character.
Ooh, it's coming.
It can't really fit on the list.
It's coming, baby.
But it's not. Yeah, they didn't add it in 2010, so it doesn't count.
There is a cute female character, and I have a blanket of her.
You have a blanket of her?
Calla Maria.
Rubs his face on it every day.
No.
Oh, the boss. That's fair. That's fair. Okay, Mike, what's your number 5?
My number 5 that I just decided 2 minutes ago is Metal Gear 5.
Oh,
yeah, that was a good one.
I'm so glad.
Now, my list isn't based off of whatever is objectively best or whatever actually probably is the best. It's just whatever games I played for the most hours in the last 10 years. Because that must mean they're the best.
That's kind of like an objective measurement. What games I played the longest.
And
I don't know. I guess that's one way to look at it, but like for me, if I played a game for 20 hours and I truly enjoyed it, versus if like I have an idle game on my phone and like technically I've played it for 50 hours, but like I didn't give a shit about any of them, I would like the 20-hour game better.
Yeah, well, see,
but that's just me.
See me, I buy a whole bunch of games and I play them. Like it's like when you get like the vegetable platter, and you're sampling each of them, but then really you just go and you eat all the carrots and ranch. It's like that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair. So hit us with it.
So, in Metal Gear 5, now if you're going to talk about the campaign, it's garbage. And that's because it's not done. And it's clear that it's just not done. But if you're going to talk about why the game's so good, well, it's clearly the mother base system. You make a mother base, you can go through the missions and like steal guys and everything to kind of build it up so it's not horrible. But then you go online. And it turns out now you can sneak to other fucking dudes' mother bases and just like jack all their shit, or kidnap their soldiers and put them on yours, or like if you're on the game playing it when you're over there, like the game will alert you like, hey, someone's on your mother base, but it doesn't just like do it via like a UI like any other game would. It's like the dude radios you and it's like, boss, like we got a situation, and that you got to call the helicopter and get back, like you're still playing the game. And it's so seamless. And after you do it a couple times, like you just realize like how much you actually suck at this game, even though the campaign like holds your hand so much.
Hey Mike, what would what's your mother base code name? What's your soldier name?
What's my mother base? What?
Like your Metal Gear Solid 5 name, your Screaming Rhino or whatever it is.
Yeah, like remember when I played? I was Octopus Operations.
No, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about how every character is like crying wolf, screaming rhino.
Like what would my code name be?
Salty snake, that kind of thing.
Yeah. My code name would be Punching Moose.
Okay. Is that because you're a moose that punches, or because you punch moose?
Yeah. Or maybe punch.
Well, I want to be Operator Octopus then, because it matches. I don't want to change.
Okay. I don't think that makes sense. That's not
that
like
ass in its skull.
If you're allowed to be Revolver Ocelot, then I could be Operator Octopus.
Well, operator isn't like an adjective.
Neither is a revolver.
Yeah, that's true. Revolving octopus, that would make more sense.
Okay, so
Revolving Ocelot.
Mike, I'm gonna hit you with a hot take right here. So, Mike, Metal Gear 5. A lot of people praise it so much because you have all these different things you can do.
Yes.
But I actually think that one of the big faults with the game,
you can shoot your hand off, and he yells "rocket punch" and then punch like 5 guys.
Nobody hears him somehow. Oh man. Oh dude, and like so like you have all these little tiny mechanics, right? Like this is what I love so much. Like all these different little tiny like niche things you could do, where like you could go into a bathroom and then you could play on your headset a recording of a guy sick in the bathroom, and so they won't go and open it and check because they don't want to get diarrhea smell, and like you can put an anime girl on the outside of your box and then distract them because they see the anime girl and they want to look at her.
The reason why Metal Gear Solid 5 is a great game is because you just seamlessly transitioned from diarrhea smell to anime girl.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
You can.
But so the problem is that like you have all of these really fun mechanics and all these things that like in a sandbox are so fun to try out once, but then like when you go to actually play the game and do the campaign, because like every single thing you bring with you costs money, and then like so many of the times you'll go and you'll not actually use your more expensive tricks, and like you can do every single mission with just like your rocket hand and a tranquilizer pistol.
If you play online, then you have more than enough resources to do everything. If I get pissed off at a mission, like I'll just call artillery strikes all day until everyone's dead, and then I'll just go in there and finish it.
Well, but I'm not talking about in terms of like the resource cost. I'm more just talking about like, I mean, for me, like the time cost. Like for fun, I'll go and I'll try to do something like I'll try to like mess with all the enemies. But whenever I'm trying to actually do the mission, I feel like the most effective way to actually play is just to sneak around and knock them out with CQC or tranquilizer dart them, like just. Well, that's plain vanilla.
Well, that's what it intends for you to do to get like the highest rank. But then, I want
it to reward doing more sandbox stuff. That's like the perfect version of the game to me would actually like in order to get like double S. I forget what they call it, like Foxhound rank or whatever. Yeah. You actually have to do some crazy stuff during the mission. That's what
my favorite part of Metal Gear Solid 5 is how if you're playing as anybody other than Big Boss and you want to do the air knock, they just contort their hands. And crack them.
Yeah.
Oh my god, it's so gross.
He just cracks his wrist.
Oh my god.
No, but to get the like what you're saying, the way they do that is each mission has like a list of hidden objectives, and all the hidden objectives require you to do all the extra mechanics and shit. So
Oh, I was just so bad at the game, I didn't even know.
So that's how you get like the highest rank in every mission.
Ryan, what's your number
you gotta figure
4?
out what they are. Yeah, moving on.
Nice. Oh shit, I forgot to put them in order.
You dope.
All right, number 4. It's really tough. I'm gonna have to go with Terraria, baby.
Oh, really?
Yeah, dude.
Is that like
your boy
that's like a fish tank simulator?
No, everybody knows Terraria. Terraria is affectionately referred to as 2D Minecraft, but that is only a surface level comparison, because Terraria, you pretty much you sacrifice a lot of the building creativity and a lot of this, like, because you're in a 2D space and not a 3D. You have like some decorations and stuff you could do, but it's just a lot less fun. But you replace it with like one of the most satisfying progression systems in any game, where you start out and you're just this little slow dude with this little tiny arc for all of your weapons. Like, you can't even do an arc for your sword. You can only poke it in front of you, and like you have to upgrade that to a better sword, and then you get a better sword, and suddenly you have swords that swing like halfway across the screen and like summon stars out of the sky, and then suddenly like you don't even know when you start playing this game. I'm rambling. The starting user experience of this game, you come in, you think it's just going to be Minecraft because that's what it looks like. And then suddenly you're fighting giant eyeballs that are chained together, and like a worm that eats half the earth, and then like there's a wall that covers just like all of the screen and chases you around. It's
got like some
it just
some
keeps
Diablo
getting
stuff
bigger
coming
and
up.
bigger and bigger. And then when you think the game is going to be over, it turns out, oh no, you just entered hard mode, and there's actually double the game afterward.
Would you say you like it more or less than Minecraft?
It's really tough. At the end of the day, it's a very different game. Minecraft is much more fun creatively, but Terraria to me is a much better like actual game in terms of like combat and fighting and running around.
Yeah, I remember I played it with you one night, but I never got back to it after that. But
And I mean, I've spent a lot of time on Terraria. Like, if you were going by playtime alone, Terraria would be probably Terraria is the game on my Steam library with the most playtime. It's like over 500 hours.
For me, it'd probably be Animal Crossing New Leaf, but that one's not on my list.
Oh, it's not on my list either. It's too bad.
I have it on the other list. We'll have a chance.
But yeah, it seems like you guys don't have much to say about Terraria, but very, very solid game. If you haven't played it, I strongly recommend it, and we can move on.
My number 4, Ryan's not going to be happy. Splatoon.
Boo!
I think that...
Splatoon?
I'm not unhappy. That's fine.
I think that Splatoon was one of the most, like, exceptionally creative new systems I saw this decade.
Why?
Well,
Why is painting walls so creative?
Because it's more than just painting walls,
Oh,
Mike.
it's so much more, Mike.
Explain.
You have these characters, and they're like, okay, these characters, we want to have something, want to have a little arena battle kind of thing going on. But how do we make it? Well, let's give them paint that they shoot around the floor, and they're trying to cover as much land as possible. It's a turf war. You literally,
Painting walls, and then
well, yeah. But then they're like, let's take it even a step further. Let's make it so that the paint itself changes the map in some way, and it does in the sense that the Inklings can become squids and swim in their own ink, and it means you go faster. It means you get to recharge your ink. It means you don't take damage when you walk over it, like with the enemy ink.
At its most fundamental level, it's just every single time you pull, like, if you're playing a game, I'll use TF2 because that's one of my favorite games like this. If you're playing TF2 and you're the heavy and you pull your trigger and you start shooting down a hallway, what you've done is you've put damage down. You put damage down that area, but you're also kind of soft denying this hallway. Somebody can't walk through there because your bullets are there.
Yeah.
And Splatoon takes that and they make it the whole game, where every single shot you fire is claiming a new piece of territory. It's making it so that, I shot and I've pushed you back further away. I've increased my score, and it opens up so many different strategies where you can play it's a competitive multiplayer shooter, and you can spend an entire game without firing a single shot at an opponent, and you can still win and have it be a good stretch.
The whole game is just zone of control.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, exactly. The entire game is about zoning.
It's about using your territory to gain the advantage against the opponent, and
specifically in the original too.
See, these
where you had
my problem with games like this is that on paper that is amazing, right? Just in the same way that like Dota on paper is amazing, but then in practice, I get into the game and it's like a bunch of 10-year-olds that are just like memeing random shit they drew at me. And fucking nobody actually knows anything about what you just said about zone of control.
I mean, just play right there.
Yeah.
Well, I would argue that that's what's so good about the game is that you can have somebody that doesn't understand, like somebody that wouldn't understand like the concept of a fighting game. Like in a fighting game, they wouldn't know what zoning means. They wouldn't know how to do territory control. They wouldn't know how to do footsies. But in Splatoon, they do, because it's just like in Splatoon, you just it's so innate just to be like you look at your. This is why I like Splatoon 1 more than Splatoon 2, just because the gamepad is so integral to me.
Mm-hmm. That's
you can look down at your map. You can see, oh, look at this big section that has a bunch of enemy paint, but not any new enemy paint appearing, so I know nobody's over there. And you run over there, and you just think like, oh, I'm just gonna start taking up this section, and like you just know, oh, and you think like, oh, if I go out to their base and I put a bunch of ink right in front of their base, that's gonna slow them down, and they're gonna have to repaint that. Like you don't think, oh, I'm zoning them out by doing that. You just think, oh, there's a lot of enemy paint over there, and I'm gonna replace it with my paint. And so it makes it so that like a stupid kid can still like engage in that on some level.
It
also
might be
think
because I didn't play the ranked, but in my experience, like everyone just ran around in circles and got shot to bits. And
I think it can be fun in either case. I think that now that the game's been out longer, people are generally better at it, and so it might be worth revisiting if you wanted to try it again. I honestly think one of my favorite bits about Splatoon is that it takes this really innovative. I'm almost done. It takes this really innovative system and builds a world around it that fits perfectly. They're squids. They have ink. They use paintbrushes and stuff to spread the ink. They can turn into full squids and swim around under ink. It's brilliant. I love it.
Oh yeah, in terms of theming and aesthetic, it's absolutely like it's much more memorable than a lot of other games.
Yeah. Mike, what's your number 4?
Number 4. This is hard. I got several that come to mind all at once, but I'm gonna say.
Do you not have them listed?
Yeah, I got a list. It's formulating. Number 4 is probably gonna be. You guys don't know anything about this game, so I'll just tell you about it and then we'll move on. It's Oxygen Not Included.
Ooh, I do know about that.
Dude, this game, if you like games like Terraria or Minecraft or whatever, where systems interact with other systems to create like new levels of gameplay, right? Then Oxygen Not Included is the best fucking game. Basically, the premise is you get a bunch of little clone guys that don't, like, their lives don't matter, and they inhabit like an asteroid or something, and you have several different biomes that you can like pick and stuff. And you have to mine through the asteroid to expand your base. But as you mine through it, you might uncover stuff like poisonous gas, like chlorine gas or hydrogen gas. So what you want in your base is oxygen. So now you have to make machines that create oxygen. And those machines need materials to power them. So now you got to go mine to find algae to put in the oxygen machine so it creates oxygen. But then that creates byproducts. So you'll get like stuff that you dug up that now you have to store somewhere. You get like byproducts from the machines, like they create carbon dioxide from running and stuff. And now you got to create vents so you can circulate air throughout your base. And now you've been there for so long that your guys are starving. So you got to create like farming lands and stuff to create food for them.
So this is Clay Entertainment, right?
Yeah, the guys who do Don't Starve. So imagine all the crazy Don't Starve shit.
It almost sounds like Don't Starve, but just like focusing on the best parts of Don't Starve.
Exactly.
And removing the like exploration and focusing only on the base building and stuff.
The exploration is still there because you have to get certain shit. So you want to dig in the optimal direction. You want to dig towards the oil or dig towards, maybe you want like a thermal vent or something like that. And you don't want to dig towards the area that has like thousands of units of chlorine gas that's going to kill everybody. so you're constantly worried about shit like miners would worry about, like cave-ins and stuff.
Is it more of a long-term game or more like almost like a roguelike, like FTL?
Oh, it's a roguelike
until you die.
Dude, it's a roguelike. You're going to die over and over and over again until you figure out what to do in this game. Because you have to run wiring, you have to run piping, you have to run like ventilation systems. Like, it's like laying out a building. It's fucking awesome.
Yeah, it sounds interesting. I really want to give that a go.
It's an amazing game, but it's a hard motherfucker. I'll tell you that.
We'll have to give it a look, and so will you, our dear listener.
Yep.
His name is Larry.
Yes, Oxygen.
Yeah, Larry, go check it out.
Oxygen Not Included by Chloe. It's Chloe.
That's good stuff.
Yeah. Those guys.
So
by me.
Number 3, we could just breeze through on this one because not much needs to be said. But at the end of the day, it would be a lie of a list if it wasn't there. It's your boy Minecraft. You can't put Terraria on without putting Minecraft.
Did Minecraft
on.
release this decade?
Minecraft is 2011 officially.
Officially, because of the beta and stuff. I guess that makes sense.
Yeah. And you know, I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't even count it because I started playing Minecraft long before. But I mean, it's been updated so much, and so much has happened to it that I don't know. Nothing needs to be said about it. It's like absolutely. If you didn't call it one of the best games of the decade, you'd be lying. Mm-hmm. That's all I have to say. George, what's your third?
My number 3. Oh, Ryan's not going to be happy about this one. We're probably going to breeze over this because we'll go over it when it gets to your list, Ryan. Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild.
Oh my god. I'm not happy. What's that doing all the way at 3?
Wait, which one?
Legend of
He said
Zelda: Breath of the Wild.
Breath of the Wild?
All the way down at 3? Look, okay, no, we're going to have a whole discussion about this.
We can have a discussion.
Mike, what's your number 3?
Okay, or we're saving that for later. Okay.
Yeah, we're saving that for later.
So my number 3, just based on sheer amount of hours, has to be Civ 5. I'm looking at Steam right now. I've played Civ 5 for 1,513 hours total.
Oh my god, you must have played at least 10 games.
Mike, we're gonna get to number 2, and you're just gonna look around your room and see a copy of Kate plus 8 or something. You're gonna be like, that's number 2, Kate plus 8.
Yep. I've put in so many hours, but only in like 20-minute bursts on that one.
Yeah.
Oh.
What can you say about Civ, Mike, that we haven't?
All right, dude. So the thing with Civ, now if we're talking pure vanilla Civ, yes, I'd agree it's garbage. But we're talking Civ with all of the updates, right? Civ 5 with all the updates is the best version of Civ, hands down. It's better than Civ 6. In some ways, I think it's better than Civ 4, except for the espionage is garbage. If you're talking about mods, the freaking mods for Civ 5 are astounding. The Vox Populi mod is amazing. It adds so many new mechanics to the game, and it makes it so you play it for another 400 hours. What I like about Civ so much is it's such a great analogy for like the actual way the world works. No one does anything for their neighbors because they like them or because they're just good people. It's purely boiled down to numbers of how much gold, science, and resources that I can yank out of my fellow man. So when you play Civ 5, you actually start to think like the world is a chessboard, just like these like psychos that have been running the Cold War for like the last fucking 100 years have.
I haven't played much of Civ 5, but what I have seen, I really like how much personality they've put into like the world leaders. I love the animations.
No, you're thinking of Civ 6.
Oh, is that Civ 6?
That's in Civ 6 that they did that.
I like those.
Okay, so here's why Civ 6 is a better game than Civ 5.
Oof.
And
Okay. Go.
Yeah. Mechanically, I don't disagree with Mike, but the problem is that, and there's a few games that I really wanted to have on my list that have one key major flaw that stopped them from being on the list. And for Civ, the key major flaw is that it wastes way too much of my motherfucking time. Just opening the goddamn thing takes 20 minutes.
2K is awful at optimizing systems. Like fucking.
Oh, was it made by 2K?
Yeah, dude. Freaking.
Yeah. They're terrible at optimizing.
It
fucking
takes so
XCOM
long
2.
to load
Ugh.
Civ 5. Playing a full game of Civ 5 through to the end, like once somebody declares war, that's it, dude. You're gonna be in this game for 16 hours minimum. Like,
Oh, dude.
I've had games that have gone on for more than 20 hours that aren't even in like the modern era. It's like this,
I love it though,
it's
dude.
crazy.
I have certain games, just save files that I've played, like because I've taken over the world like dozens of times at this point. But I have certain save files that I still play that are like my favorite games. Like I have games where I'm in the year like 2400 and like just seeing how the world politics are playing out, just because I'm interested.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for me, Civ 6, it has a bit more personality, like what George was saying. I love the redesigns of all the leaders, but most importantly, just redoing roads, redoing the policies, redoing all of these systems that used to be such a slog, just in the interest of streamlining. I understand that it lost a lot of depth, but like the game was just too damn long.
I don't know, man. I'm not going to go into the semantics of Civ 5, but like dumbing down stuff like roads and like the way certain units work and stuff, I think just purely hurts the game.
Yeah, I mean, there's an argument to be made for both sides,
Yeah,
but like at the end of the day, it's really hard to play a game of Civ. It takes a really long time.
All right, Ryan,
I'd never disagree with that.
All right, number 2. This is the one that I'm the most excited about because it is a truly Kino choice. So every other game on this list did something that I felt was really groundbreaking, or like it overhauled something. Like, for Mass Effect, it was like the way that it popularized all these dialogue choices. It really made it so that like choices in games was like taken really seriously in dialogue trees. For Terraria and Minecraft, it's, the level of creativity and the level of progression that they're able to give you. For this bad boy, it's a game that just didn't exist before it came out. It was a type of game you just couldn't play. There wasn't one. And it's Super Hot VR, baby.
Ooh, super.
That's a very good one. I was considering tossing some VR games in here, but I don't think I've played enough of them.
There's other VR games. Like, if you compare my playtime in Super Hot VR to Beat Saber, it's not even close. Like, I have like 4 times the time in Beat Saber already, and I'm going to keep playing Beat Saber, and I'm not going to keep playing Super Hot because I've already played, I've already beaten all of the challenges that I wanted to beat. But, like, the initial experience of putting on this headset and playing this game, it's the first game that feels like a truly VR experience. Everything else is something that, like, could have existed, and, like, it's got a bit of novelty. But Super Hot is, you are Neo in the Matrix doing all these things, and it's just such a power. So there's this time, I'm playing the game, and I'm trying to throw, like, my shurikens at somebody. I shoot somebody, and then I throw the gun. I use the gun to block a bullet that's about to hit me in the face, and I throw it to kill another guy, and then I have to, like, start leaning back, not because, like, I want to do a cool Matrix thing, but because there's just so many bullets coming towards me. The only way I could dodge it is to start Matrixing backwards. And, like, I don't know. Like, I've met people who have played the PC version and not the VR version, and I don't even understand how, like, I don't understand how you could go from the VR version back to the PC version, even consider a game at all.
That was exactly me. I played it on, I think, like PS3 or something first, and then I played it on VR, and I'm like, this is just night and day. I hadn't even realized at the time how major the difference was going to be. It was amazing, and I already really liked Super Hot because it feels like the perfect representation of, like, an action movie. Because everything is slowing down around you, so you have all the time in the world to do all the stupid, cool things you want to do. To think about all the stupid things you want to do.
Oh, can we... Oh, I'm sorry.
It's highlighted even stronger in VR, since you're doing the movements yourself. What was that, Mike?
Oh, I'm sorry. I just thought of something, and I just decided to just talk right over you there.
No, don't worry about it.
Wait, is it related or is it unrelated? 'Cause I have one last thing to say.
It's completely related, and it's just I don't want to spoil the end of Super Hot, but do you have to shoot your own? Do you have to shoot your own self in the VR version?
Yeah, the way you exit menus, the way you select things in the VR version is you take a gun and you shoot the option you want, and the way to back up out of a menu is to shoot yourself in the head.
Oh man. Like, you see yourself sitting there, like, with all the stuff in front of you, and you have to, like, shoot yourself?
No, dude, okay, so spoilers for Super Hot VR.
Yeah, spoilers for Super Hot.
Don't want it. 5, 4, 3, 2. At the end of the game, there's an amazing moment where it's just, like, it puts a gun in front of you, and there's no one nearby, and it just says, prove your devotion, or something like that.
Yeah. Like,
and you just have to figure out what you need to do, and it's it's really cool.
That game, like, I was really ingrained in that game when they tell you to walk off a building, and me with my fear of heights was having a lot of trouble just stepping off.
Oh yeah. With the
I was standing there for like a full like 2 minutes, like oh no, like reaching my arms out, like no.
To give my final thoughts on it, it's like the core game you play through the normal way. And it's just so compelling. You don't want to take the headset. Like, you eventually have to take the headset off because you realize you're just exhausted because you've been playing for 2.5 hours doing all these crazy twister contortionist poses. And you're out of energy. You're like sweating up a storm in this headset. And then you get done with that. And then you come back in. And it's like, okay, now you need to do it by moving your body as little as possible so that the in-game time is as short as possible. So, now you got to do it so that the real time is as short as possible. So it might as well not be slow motion. You're just flinging everything around as fast as you can. And, like, each of these modes is just, like, a whole new way to experience it. It works super well. The one problem is that there's just not enough content, which is the best complaint to have about the game. You can watch a video of somebody playing Beat Saber, and you could be like, oh, that looks fun, and I know why. You can watch somebody playing, like, one of these, like, sword fighting simulators. You're like, yeah, I know what it's like to fight with a sword. But you don't know what it's like to be Neo from the Matrix until you played Super Hot. And if you have a VR headset, it is the number one. It is a crime to not have played it. Right,
before we move on, Ryan, you should look into Boneworks because I hear that one is similarly very good about that kind of stuff.
Boneworks.
I'll give it a look.
I think it's called Boneworks.
Boneworks.
Larry the viewer.
You play as a skeleton, woo!
Working
wish
them
you played as a
bones.
skill. Okay, so my number 2. I don't know how you're going to feel about this, Ryan, because this is the game I put directly above Breath
you
of the
made
Wild.
this list to piss me off. It sounds
No.
You keep saying that.
Super Mario Maker on the Wii U, specifically.
Oh, I don't know
Super
about that
Mario
one, Scoop.
I have all my life liked being creative, liked making creative stuff, and that includes games and levels. I made little games in Game Maker. I would edit levels in like the Alien Hominid PDA games and stuff like that. There were plenty of the stage editors that I worked on. I like Smash Ultimate came out with their stage builder, and I've spent probably 30 hours or something in it just making crazy stages. And I'm also a level designer, so I've even worked professionally. Mario Maker on the Wii U is by and far the best level editor I've ever used in my life. It is fucking amazing. And the fact that they used a touchscreen to do everything, the fact that it all feels like a game, it's a level editor that feels like a game. No one else has even come close to doing something like that. Where
That's fair.
That's
That's
true.
fair. I'll get.
I need
That's
to turn this shell into a red shell. You just shake it. That's fun, and it's intuitive and it's interesting. Sometimes a fly comes in and you swat it, and now you're in a fly minigame. Why not? It's just the greatest stuff. Everything you place goes with the music and stuff like that. It's brilliant.
So
the way
it's
it was
like-
presented was just so well done.
It's like they took Mario Paint and just made it into like a level editor.
Exactly. Mario Maker is in a way like a.
I mean, if we're gonna say that, right? All I'm saying is like, I wanna change my list. Number 2 best game of the year, Blender. Yeah, just an amazing tool.
But
great for
Mario
designing
Maker
levels,
is not
great for
just a
modeling.
level editor; it's a game, and that's what makes it so good.
Yeah, but here's the problem: is that the game sucks.
The game doesn't suck. The game is amazing.
Well, the game is what you make it, right?
No, the game is the levels. The game is the level editor, sure, but I'm saying playing the Mario Maker levels.
But
not very fun.
even the bad levels in Mario Maker, I have a lot of fun playing them because they're so crazy and wacky.
But
the game actually leans on that pretty heavily.
If you want the game to be good, you have to make it good. I think
Exactly,
that's what
Ryan. You need to make it better. It's your job.
Okay. Then why won't Nintendo show my levels to anyone, George?
Wait, why won't they show your levels?
There's
They
some
show my level to one guy, that guy doesn't like it, and then they don't show it to anybody else.
there's
'cause
some
it's
weird
too hard, and it
algorithm
makes me
issues,
mad.
I think, with the second one. The second one is not as strong. I still love the second one. I still play a lot of it. It's not as strong, unfortunately.
Well, mostly because it took away the gamepad, and the gamepad was integral.
But you can tell that they were trying to lean heavily on the these levels aren't being made by Nintendo professionals; they're being made by random people. It's like you can just stick a giant Goomba in a block just because you feel like it, And so, do you think they were leaning
I'm
on that
happy
pretty
with that.
heavily?
I think Mario Maker 2 or Mario Maker 1 is a respectable choice in terms of like how unique it is as well. There's nothing that's even close to
No,
it.
not even.
Yeah, definitely.
Number 2, Mike, hit me with it.
Oh shit. Damn, number 2, huh?
8 plus 8.
Now, number 2. All right, so let's put some context to this. Number 2, of course, is Kerbal Space Program. Kerbal Space Program, according to Steam, I played it for the first time on, what's it say here? November 10th. And since then, I have played this game for 500 hours. And I think that just shows, like, how, I don't know, easy it is to get lost in this game. Kerbal, for everybody who doesn't know, you take command of a race of aliens, and you have to build their space program. And the level of technology you start out in career mode is around like NASA in the early 50s. And then
Who
you just
the
have
hell doesn't know Kerbal Space Program?
I don't know, maybe some
I mean, it's not the most AAA game.
the one guy
It's
out
not a
there who
AAA
doesn't
game,
know.
but it's pretty popular. I don't know.
Now the beautiful thing about this game is that I could say that it's, because like all of the physics are like so close to being spot on that it really feels like their lives are in your hands like half the times because all the rockets are extremely unsafe. I could say that it brings a tear to my eyes sometimes because I sit there and think about all the failures of uniting humanity and I see that scientific endeavor could be the thing
Do you
that
mean
would truly bring
Kerbality?
us all together. Yes, Kerbality. The theory of Kerbality. Freaking, I could say all those things, but at the end of the day, it's a genius game in its progression. And every single goal that you have in this game directly feeds into the next goal that you would naturally have. So
Well, and naturally creating like your own quest lines in a way.
exactly. So it's like once you get into orbit, naturally you're going to want to put stuff into orbit. Once you put stuff into orbit, naturally you're going to want to extend your spheres of influence. Once you do that, you're naturally going to want to try to land on the moon. Once you figure out how to do that, you're naturally going to want to try to figure out how to get to other like celestial bodies. And each thing is like such a learning curve that it makes the game like just
Mike, I think you've
several games in
convinced
one.
me because years ago I bought this game for my uncle, and I kept sending it to him on Steam, and he never accepted it because he doesn't go on Steam very often. So I think it's still sitting in my inventory, so I think I'm just going to redeem it and play it.
Dude, it's
I mean,
it's
you might as well just wait for
wonderful.
Kerbal 2 so you can do multiplayer.
Yeah,
at
I
this
guess
point.
so.
I
It'll
will.
stay in my inventory forever.
I'm almost most certainly going to do a Kerbal 2 YouTube channel, just because I already know I'm going to play it for so many hours that I might as well.
So here's the one thing. The reason that Kerbal to me only makes it to an honorable mention and does not make it to the best games of the decade. It's because I understand that they can only put so much time into each area or whatever, but like with literally like a day of work or less, I'll say a week. With just one extra week dedicated to this one thing, the game would have gone from from a 9 out of 10 to an 11 out of 10. And it's just when I was first playing this game, and I like first start exploring around, like I'm talking like very, very beginning, like launching my first little baby rocket. I see this little strange black rectangle off in the distance. And so I start working to launch a rocket close enough to it. And eventually I land a rocket close enough that I can exit my Kerbal and walk up to it. And it turns out it's like the monolith from Space Odyssey. And it's awesome. And then like when I start building planes and flying my planes around, I notice something off in the distance in the water on an island. And I go and I land, and it's like a secret airfield on the island. And like they have like some like broken Kerbal stuff over there. And it's like, oh man, I wonder what this abandoned airfield is. But then that's it. And that never happens again.
Oh, no, dude.
And it like set this expectation so high that like, oh, if I go and explore around Kerbal, there'll be other things like a hidden Kerbal statue.
Dude,
or like,
especially if you get the expansions, there's lots and lots of little hidden things. Like there's a whole separate desert launch site where you can put your rockets there instead. And when you go to the
but I don't have the expansion. You're talking about, you didn't say Kerbal expansions. You said base Kerbal.
well, I mean, I would consider all the expansions part of the complete experience if you really like the game.
If that's the case, then I'm really glad that that's what they added, because that was immediately the main thing that was missing for me, is not just like no things to go and find.
One of the greatest things they added was robotics. So you can actually add like arms and hinges and stuff. So you can like fold up stuff or have stuff reach out and grab stuff.
I always watch all these videos of Kerbal on YouTube. I'm like, how the fuck is everybody doing this? And I guess they're playing with expansions. I didn't even know there were.
Yeah, dude. And
I thought they just had like, a bunch of mods.
Now, not to stray off topic, but my biggest thing I'm excited for in Kerbal 2, besides the multiplayer, is that you can make dry docks in orbit. So you can assemble capital ships around the planet, so you don't have to worry about escaping gravity.
Well, like once you add multiplayer, like just right off the bat, having the ability to have a ship with two smaller ships that have cockpits that like branch off, and then like all three of them can fly independently, like that's
dude. You can
Megazord type ships.
Yes,
are the jam.
Exactly. That's what I'm building to here. Is that you can essentially make Voltron. And what other game can you say this?
Space Engineers, but it's way too laggy. Kerbal's just strictly better, so it's hard to.
Yeah.
Ryan.
So.
Before you get to your number one game.
No. I was gonna say before I get to my number one.
Well, I think you should read off your honorable mentions.
That's what I was gonna say.
Yes.
I don't need you to tell
Beat
me.
him to it, baby.
Okay. So I have two sets of honorable mentions before we move on to the number ones.
Yeah.
I have honorable mentions that are worth talking about for at least a few sentences,
Okay.
and then honorable mentions that I want to just belt out.
Yeah, and I won't.
Damn games.
We probably shouldn't have a discussion on these ones because we'll be going on forever. So you just say what you say. Your
I'm just
reasoning.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so the game. I guess I want to spend a little bit more time on this one particular one, just because. Before we get to honorable mentions, I want to talk about one game that I think would have deserved to be on the list, but was kicked off for one reason and one reason only, and it's literally greed.
So most honorable,
No.
most honorable mention then.
Yeah, the highest honorable mention. Actually, a dishonorable mention.
Okay.
Like, you did such a good job on this game, but fuck you.
What?
And it's Hearthstone by Blizzard Entertainment.
Ooh.
You have a game that literally revolutionized card games. It invented the genre. The genre of digital card game might as well have not existed before Hearthstone came out. And now that it's come out, you have dozens of them that are all amazing. But Hearthstone still somehow does it the best. It's got... It somehow has managed to consistently balance, really good strategy, with being accessible to new players and being, random enough that it's fun to play, all these different things. It's got one of the best UIs that you've ever seen. It's so fun just to click around and like see the cards hit the board and hear the lines. Everything they did was perfect, but they monetized it so poorly that every single person who plays the game net decks because they can't afford to experiment. And so the experience of actually playing is terrible. All they would have to do is make it so that players have access to more cards, or that like maybe if there was a subscription service where you pay like $10 a month and then you have all the cards as long as you pay $10 a month. Like, if people were able to play the game correctly, it would be the best game of the year. But because everyone is so worried about their resources, because it's hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of dollars per year to play this game, the experience is just shit, and so I hate it.
That makes sense.
And that's my Hearthstone ramble. I hope you liked it, Larry.
But doesn't that make it like essentially like any other collectible card game?
It doesn't, because in every other collectible card game, you can trade. And in every other collectible card game, people aren't net decking because if you're a player that doesn't care about tournaments and net decking, you don't have to. You can play with your friends.
Yeah.
And there is no meta. It doesn't develop like that. In Hearthstone, they didn't even let you get quest rewards until like 4 years in for playing with friends. And so the only way to really play was against strangers, and it wasn't a good experience. And they've only made the game more expensive. So it's just only gotten worse. It's terrible. Okay, that's my big. I really wanted to put Hearthstone on the list, but I couldn't do it. It made me too angry.
What are your other honorable mentions?
Other honorable mentions, and I'll spend much less time on them. Saints Row 3, the true sandbox game. Saints Row defeats any Grand Theft Auto. Grand Theft Auto, no fun. Saints Row, all fun. Number 2, Bastion. Gameplay is really basic, but the art and the sound and the narrator just absolutely puts it over the top, makes it so memorable, and the ending is perfect. MapleStory 2, the best MMO that you have ever had. You can get experience for everything, so if you don't even have to do combat. You want to spend the whole game being a crafter, you're a crafter. You want to spend the whole game chatting with your friends and playing minigames, you can do that. You still get to be a high level.
Great game.
MapleStory 2 is beautiful. The only reason I put 100 hours into MapleStory 2 in 2 weeks, and then I never played it again because it was destroying my life.
Yeah, same.
That's how good MapleStory 2 was.
We were basically playing it together, and it was.
I wanted to play it, you fuckers.
I didn't want to hurt you, Mike.
I told you weeks before it even came out. Let's all play this game.
Did you? I don't remember that.
Mike, that's how much it consumed my life. I forgot everything.
Yeah.
I
forgot everything
was
before
very
MapleStory 2. Yeah. The best part of MapleStory 2 is that I had a little body pillow, and you could equip it, and then you'll run faster. That's all it really needed.
There was a day of MapleStory 2. You have these daily quests. The day that I decided to stop playing is I logged in at like, I forget. I logged in, first thing in the morning or whatever, and I started doing all my dailies. So like from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. I do all my dailies. And I noticed that my dailies roll over at 7 p.m. And so at 7 p.m. I'm like, oh, nice, I can do all my dailies again. And I just spent all the day, and then like it took me straight up 16 hours to do all my daily quests for 2 days, and that just became my life. And then I realized like I just can't keep going. But
awesome.
What's your next one?
After that, the next one, Monster Hunter 4. If you don't know Monster Hunter, you should, and 4 is the best one. That's all I have to say. Spider-Man for the PlayStation 4. Absolutely just pure fun. The most, like, I didn't play it long enough, but just the most, I don't know, so fun. just zooming around, zipping all over, beating people up.
At a loss of words.
Last one, say what?
I said, at a loss of words of fun.
Well, I mean, it's just one of those things, like, if you played it, you know exactly what I'm talking about, and if I didn't play it, you should. So that's all that really needs to be said.
Get the weapon.
And then I'm just gonna start belting out. Just if you hear your name called, I'm giving you a high five, developer. Good job. Your boy Mario Odyssey, your boy Skyrim, your boy XCOM, Darkest Dungeon, Super Meat Boy, launching indie games for everybody. Path of Exile, throwing Diablo 3 into the dirt. Fire Emblem Awakening for introducing children. Bravely Default for being the only good turn-based RPG ever made. And Factorio for being really... Factorio. That's all I have to say. Oh, and Minion Masters. That's it. Okay, that's it.
All right, and now for Ryan's number 1, as if we don't already know what it is.
Oh, we're not gonna do all the honorable mentions?
We can do all the honorable mentions. I don't mind.
I thought we were gonna do all the honorable mentions.
So we'll move on to my honorable mentions. Mine are a little less objective. Mine are more just games I really loved. Probably my favorite games of the decade. But Number 1, Kid Icarus Uprising, probably my favorite game on the 3DS. I absolutely love it. It's just this grand, crazy adventure. There's a lot of surprises, and it's just I love every part of it. The voice acting is great. The music is great. The gameplay is a lot of fun.
The controls are.
Yeah, whatever. And the systems, like Sakurai is so good at coming up with systems that just let you build stuff up in really cool ways. And Kid Icarus Uprising, you're like getting stronger weapons, getting better weapons, finding more stuff, and doing all these challenges throughout the game. It's just so much fun. You have this like bartering system that makes the game harder based on how much you want to put in money wise, and then you get better rewards out of it. It's great. I love it. I absolutely love it. If you have a 3DS and your hands are confident, you should give the game a go. Danganronpa. Danganronpa started like just at the beginning of this generation of this decade, and like I can't even say Danganronpa 1 or 2. I love pretty much everything Danganronpa did. I'm so happy with Danganronpa. I have issues with it, but it's like imagine Ace Attorney, but there's more of a connected story between all of the cases, and instead of randos dying, it's characters you care about, and there's so much style to it. I love the series so much. Pit People. Having a turn-based strategy game where all you do is move your characters and then your characters decide what to do simplifies it a lot and makes it so much fun to just casually go through.
I think we should one day talk about the genius of design in Pit People, because it really is such a well-designed game.
Fucking love that game.
Yeah, I'd totally do its own section. Specifically, the fact that even if it wasn't so elegant, getting co-op into a turn-based game like that at all is beautiful.
Yeah, and they did a great job. The Jackbox Party Packs. Pretty much all of them. I love all of the Jackbox Party Packs. Whenever I'm with a group of people, that's like always the game that anyone will be willing to play. If some people don't feel like playing Smash, some people don't feel like playing Mario Kart, almost always people are always willing to play Jackbox. The games are creative, fun, and always a lot of laughs.
Wait, before you...
Yeah.
Larry's asking, if he only is going to buy one Jackbox, which one should he buy?
Oh, shit, that's a tough one. I think, honestly, either the newest one or the second newest one. I'd have to have the list in front of me. 5 or 6? Yeah. My favorite game of the whole series is Patently Stupid, where you come up with inventions and you have to pitch them to everybody. It always ends up with the most ridiculous, stupid stuff, and it's super funny to me. But I think most of them have good games in them. One day I'll make like a tier list or something. Animal Crossing Happy Home Designer. This might seem like a weird entry, but in a world where everyone's trying to make like Dark Souls and battle royales and all this and that, Animal Crossing Happy Home Designer I think is one of the best, if not the best, casual games to release in the last decade, where all you do is sit around and make houses because it's fun and the UI is good. It does exactly what it needs to do. And then the last one would just be Undertale, and I'm sure Mike will have more to say about that than I do. But
oh man,
yeah. But Undertale took turn-based combat and added a creative little shmup system to it, and is very creative in the way that it delivers its story. A lot of surprises in it, which I like a lot. Those are my. I guess I'll do the quick list. This is a very quick list. I'm just going to say the names of my favorite sequels of the last decade: Batman: Arkham City, Portal 2, Little Big Planet 2, Animal Crossing New Leaf, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. And that's my honorable mentions.
I appreciate your restraint. That was a lot less than I expected. I expected you to be going for a little while.
Mike, what about you?
Honorable mentions. I would say the original Red Dead Redemption, which I didn't even realize was released in this.
That's a fair choice.
Yeah, if you want to talk about taking the idea of Grand Theft Auto and then actually making it in like a reasonable setting, not full of maniacs.
Well, and that's actually so. Like the reason I love Saints Row 3 so much is that it takes everything that Grand Theft Auto like originally was trying to be, like back in like the Vice City area, you know, like back in like the original, like the old Grand Theft Autos, and it just takes it all to the nines. It just makes it so ridiculous and so fun. But then Red Dead does it in the opposite way, where it cuts out the silly things and just like let's give you something that you can actually dive into. You know.
Well, the cool thing about Red Dead, I think, is that when you go on a rampage in Grand Theft Auto, it feels like that world deserved it. Like, everyone's such a prick. Everyone's always fucking with you. Everyone's shooting at you anyway, so it's like they expect it. In Red Dead, it seems like this is the actual American frontier, and they're just trying to live their lives, and you're just this fucking psycho going around, like, blowing up trains and stealing wagons and shit.
Oh, man. What's next?
Yeah. XCOM, just like you said. XCOM Enemy Unknown, specifically the first one. I would probably have more to say about XCOM 2 if it didn't run at about 8 frames per second, no matter what setting I have it on.
No, dude, and it's really important that you actually specifically say, like, the first one with the expansion, because it's not even the same game without it. I totally agree.
XCOM, I think, took the strategy RPG formula and revitalized it. Like, I think so many games that exist now are thanks to XCOM.
I can see that. I've played a lot of games since then that borrow a lot of mechanics from it.
Yeah, without a doubt. Especially like the Overwatch mechanic and stuff. Just genius.
Yeah.
I love RTS, or not RTS. I love tactics games like XCOM. I've played, like so many of the Fire Emblems and like Final Fantasy Tactics and stuff like that, and I've not replayed a tactics game more than XCOM.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's so much fun just to treat it like a roguelike and just go in again, start over, see what happens this time.
And the connection you have with your team members is so much more deep than like any other game.
It's completely unmatched in any other game. Even XCOM 2 doesn't match it because XCOM 2 takes away the random soldier level ups for some reason.
True. What else? Tyranny. I don't know if anybody else played this game. It's kind of like a Baldur's Gate clone, but it's one where you play as the bad guy, and you come from a position of power. So, like, if you ever have like crazy power fantasies of being just like evil, then Tyranny's the game. What else? Sonic Mania, for bringing back old school Sonic and proving to all these haters that Sonic knows how to be a game.
Now, it's tough for me to give Sonic Mania like the games. I mean, I guess it came out, but like all the best levels. I mean, it's essentially like a level pack for Sonic and Knuckles. That's like pretty much what it is.
There was a lot of new stuff in it, wasn't there?
Yeah, there's so much new stuff. It's new animations for Sonic, new mechanics of how things work. It's like every.
I mean, like that's
well,
like saying that
just
that's like saying
there.
Kirby Superstar is just a remake of the first Kirby.
Well,
No, that's fair. I mean,
Well-
Sonic Mania was a real good time. That's fair.
yeah, it's just different. If you played Sonic and Knuckles, you know what I'm talking about. Sonic Mania is like, you think of the most interesting Sonic game of like, or Sonic level, I mean, of every game, like the Casino Zone and stuff, and that's like what all the new levels feel like. They all feel like the most interesting level from all the old ones. Yeah. Moving along, Risk of Rain, just for being one of the best co-op games. I fucking love.
Oh yeah, dude.
I
That
love
game is
playing
great.
that game with other people. It's so fun. What else?
And of course, just perfect jams.
All of the Metroidvanias that came out in this last 10 years, I gotta throw a shout out. Frickin' Ori and the Blind
Every one of
Forest,
them?
fucking Hollow Knight, freaking Guacamelee, all great games. Lots of fun, lots of stuff to do. Really, really fun.
Oh, I was supposed to have Shovel Knight on mine. Shit.
Yeah, yeah. If you want to just go through the indie route, Shovel Knight, freaking, like you were saying, Meat Boy, fucking Fez. What's that one that came out recently? Freaking Celeste. All these games that like have that old school feel to them that are just really, really fun. Yeah, go ahead.
I'll go ahead.
The back-to-back FTL and then Into the Breach, both by who makes those? What's that company?
I don't know.
Yeah, both of those are really fun. They both take one thing and boil it down to the most simplest idea, and then just execute perfectly.
It's called Subset Games.
Subset Games, shout out to them. Into the Breach is like XCOM, but with like more mechanics, but even more simple somehow. Super elegant. What else? All of these crazy building and management games that came out. Like, I don't know if you've played Foundation. It's still in beta, so I don't know if that counts. But you're like the lord of like a little medieval realm, and all the graphics are super bright and colorful, and really fun with the building.
Hit us with the ultra rapid fire for the rest.
All right, ultra rapid fire. All of the Devolver freaking Devolver.
Oh yeah, Enter the Gungeon.
The
Enter the
Devolver
Gungeon
stuff
needs
is
to be
great.
on there.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Enter the Gungeon, freaking Nuclear Throne, all that shit was spectacular.
Oh, shit, I want to play more.
Crypt of the
Enter Gungeon.
Necrodancers. Get Crypt of the Necrodancer in there.
Yeah,
That's good.
Crypt of Necrodancer was really unique. I like that one.
A
And
last
then-
second add in Overcooked. I thought that was, as far as cooperative games go, that was one of the
yes,
most fun ones I
absolutely.
played.
Overcooked, one of the best multiplayer games of the last couple of years, without a doubt. Everything works together so well. I really like Darkest Dungeon. I played a lot of City Skylines. And if you really like games that kind of mix action and management, Bomber Crew. Spectacular. You play as a World War II bomber crew and have to keep your plane alive through enemy territory. It's amazing.
All right. Ryan, you
Right.
want to...
And coming in hot, number 1, the big boy, the bad boy. You know it, you love it. It's Breath of the Wild. Everybody knows it. What can even be said about Breath of the Wild that hasn't already been said? First of all,
we haven't said anything,
coming in
so.
right at the very end, and just blowing everything else out of the water. So something I like to say: if Breath of the Wild is not a 10 out of 10 game, Breath of the Wild is like an 8 out of 10 game, because you play it and immediately, not immediately. You play it for like 12 or 20 hours, you're just blown away by how amazing this game is. But as you progress and as you keep going, you can't help this like niggling feeling that you have that just like there's something missing, that there needs to be even more. You want just more weapons, and you constantly think, oh, it'd be so cool if this was in the game. It'd be so cool if that was in the game. And so you love everything that's there, but what it really does, and this is the strength, it really just opens your eyes to all the things that there could be. But the problem is with calling it an 8 out of 10 game is that it implies that the other games that came out first it turns out that every other game that had a 10 on it was also only an 8 or lower. Zelda just let you know that like the previous scale we were using, we just had 2 unused numbers that we never actually reached before. And like moving forward and like picturing like what Breath of the Wild 2 can be. No.
I will say that part of the reason why I didn't have Breath of the Wild at like number 1 is because I did feel like at some point it felt like I was I wanted different rewards. I wanted more villages. I wanted more towns. And it's a lot of what you said. I want more. But for that same reason, I'm so excited for Breath of the Wild 2. It's like probably one of my most probably number 2 of my most anticipated games. Number 1 being the perpetual Paper Mario 3 that I've been waiting for 16 years.
I mean, let's say you're somebody who just blasted through Breath of the Wild. Yeah. There's no way you beat that game in less than 40 or 50 hours. And if you just blasted through and did it at that speed and cut, like a huge amount of the content to beat it that fast, you would not be getting a lot of repeated content. And people will play it like that, and they'll still complain. They're just like, oh, well, there should have been even more. And it's like, if your only complaint about the game is that there's not even more stuff in the game in addition to all of this crazy stuff that's in the game. And there's a huge amount of stuff in the game.
To me, it's not about content, right? It's about structure. And Breath of the Wild is amazing exploration gameplay. I think maybe the best that there has been in the last 10 years. Even better than Metal Gear 5, I would say. Freaking all of the systems that somehow seamlessly work together, the weather, the fact that you can combine items in such unique ways, incredible, right? All of that I would never argue with. But then you go and play the actual game of Legend of Zelda, which is going into dungeons, solving puzzles, finding new items, figuring out how to use them to beat the bosses. All of that was so weak. And I was like, why?
I mean, because that wasn't in the game. It was a different game.
I think that if they take Breath of the Wild and they add a lot more like variety to the kinds of stuff you can find, I think that would be one of my favorite games of all time. I still love Breath of the Wild.
If they added in a bunch of bosses that had a bunch of square holes that you're supposed to put square pegs into, I'd be furious, and I think it would ruin.
Yeah, of course. I'm not necessarily saying it needs more of the old stuff, but I want a little more.
Well, but specifically,
variety.
what Mike is saying, like what I'm saying is that structure, the tradition, the reason that that's not in Zelda, the reason that there's not a dungeon that you go in and you find an item for the dungeon and then you use that item on the boss is that it is fundamentally at odds with what Breath of the Wild is. Breath of the Wild is about being able to go in and solve this dungeon 10 different ways, and you have to figure out which way you want to solve it.
It wasn't like that,
like freedom,
because
basically.
you go into the dungeon, and half the items you don't find anymore, and half the items don't work on the dungeon. So it is the old formula, but just kind of more boring, in my opinion. Because you can't use the millions of mechanics in the dungeons or on the bosses. You just fight them all kind of the same way.
What are you talking about?
The only ones
that you can't use any of the mechanics. You go into a shrine. And it's like a physics shrine.
No, not the shrine. Not the shrines. The shrines I think are interesting because they're all like little puzzles. Those are really cool.
Do you mean the divine beasts?
Yeah, I'm talking inside the divine beast where you fight like the Ganon possessions, like that are actually supposed to be the chunk of like the main content. All of that to me is super weak. Fighting the divine beasts themselves, I thought was cool, where like you have to like drag behind them and shoot arrows at them and all that stuff. That was all right. But where you actually go in and
I mean,
fight the
I don't
Ganons,
even-
that was weak.
I don't think the blights. I mean, personally, the reason I don't like the blights is their design. I don't like that all of the major bosses in the game essentially look all, like pretty much the same. You can tell
It's all
like,
just
like,
the-
oh, this guy's beefy.
Yeah,
I
it's all
totally-
just a
I
big
totally
man
agree
who
with that.
swings swords and
Yeah,
blows on you or something.
Through all this
But like
vague shadow
mechanically,
guy.
if the mechanics of the fights were the same, I mean, not even. Water Blight Ganon is pretty boring. I think Thunder Blight and Fire Blight Ganon are.
I
fun
think-
fights,
I
and
think
to me-
Wind
to
and
me-
Water
I think for me,
is better.
I had more fun like doing first time fights with like the bosses just out in the wilderness than I did with the blights. So, for example, the first time I fought Moldulga, that felt more like a boss fight to me than the blights do.
Yeah, fighting the monsters out in the environment are more boss fights than fighting the actual dungeon bosses.
Well, that's not even true. Only a Lionel. The Lionel
Yeah.
is the only
Yeah,
monster that's harder
I
than
was
the
saying
boss.
the
No, the
Moldulga.
Lionels and the big rock
No, and
guys.
Molduga's way easier.
And the
Well,
big
I'm
rock-
not saying he's necessarily hard, but I like that. Like with the blights, usually what I do is I just shoot arrows at them, and then when they fall, I just beat them up. With the Moldulga, you had this specific mechanic of like, oh yeah, you want to blow him out of the floor, and he's like going around the sand and trying to eat you and stuff like that. I like a lot of weird variety in bosses. And
Yeah,
stuff.
that was way more of a boss
Well, I
fight.
mean, but that's the problem is that you fight Molduga once, and then you have to go
Yeah,
and fight
yeah,
him three
yeah.
more times
Well,
the exact same
and
way.
that's-
There's only one way to
and
fight
that's
him.
part of the issue I have with the game is that.
Well, it's because
is
he's
that-
not. But if he was a boss, though, then that would be the one and done that you would fight him. Is what.
Well, but it's different, right? With Hinox, for example, Hinox is a super easy enemy to kill. He's like not a threat at all, but he's still really fun for me to fight because you'll see different Hinoxes in different places, and you'll be like, oh man, I'm going to try to launch this boulder at light speed and hit the Hinox with the boulder really hard to chunk his health. Like, oh, I'm going to try to bring some explosive barrels over to him. Oh, I'm going to try to just steal his stuff and then leave without even fighting him. There's like so many ways to go into this encounter with a Hinox. It makes it really interesting.
Yeah, exactly.
Molduga, you just go in, you put a
Yeah, of
bomb on
course.
the ground so he eats the bomb. And
I
then
don't.
kill
I don't
him.
necessarily
The
mind
only
that
way.
though, and it's not the part that I like about Moldulga. I specifically
No, but what
like
George
that it
what
feels
George
so
is
different.
What George is saying is just that the way you go about fighting that one enemy, if you made that one encounter and just like that was the whole set piece, would be way more interesting than any of the stupid shadow bosses that you fight in kind of the same way.
No, see, I disagree completely.
I don't know.
Because the problem is because I understand why you like that in terms of like a traditional Zelda boss, but that's not what Breath of the Wild is about. Having
Yeah,
a
of
boss,
course.
even if it's a really interesting way to kill him, this one and only way, it's still one and only way, and that's boring.
We might need a full
I-
episode
not
on
what
Breath
Breath
of the
of the
Wild,
Wild's
honestly.
No, I totally agree with that. Like that Breath of the Wild is about being able to use as many of the mechanics as possible on the bosses. I'm just saying that
And then
the
you-
bosses you do fight, that's not true. For
And-
me, I just whipped out the fucking sword and just sword fought all of them because there was no
Well, right,
there was
because
no more,
there's multiple
like, fun
ways
way
to do it,
though.
and so you can choose to do it that way.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Breath
but-
of the Wild, the
but
big
when I-
thing was the freedom. That was a big.
But when I play Metal Gear, like when I bring all that stuff, like I have several different plans going on how I'm going to solve this mission.
I literally just
When-
said earlier how I was annoyed with Metal Gear because you can just beat all the missions with CQC and the Tranquilizer, and you're like, yeah, you're supposed to.
well, that's for like if you're talking about like rankings and stuff like that.
Oh, it's different now. Oh.
There's no rankings in Zelda. You just beat the game to
Yeah, the
progress
rankings
the
is
story.
you give yourself the ranking. Like this is like somebody who says like, oh well, there's no reason to play the game because it doesn't give you achievements.
No, what I'm saying,
Like
what
the
I'm,
reason
what I'm
to
saying
do it
is
differently is
te-
because it's fun because you want
Tell
to.
me all the different ways you could defeat those shadow bosses, like using the outside mechanics besides just the arrow and the swords, because there's like not that many, you know.
No, that's true. For the shadow bosses in particular, that's why I like
That's all-
fire
that's
and
all-
lightning because the fire and lightning bosses do have ways. To,
That's all.
They have
That's
at least
all
like
I'm
two or
talking
three
about.
different ways.
Like I said,
But wind and water, you're right.
Like I said, the overworld is amazing. All the monsters you fight on the overworld are amazing. I love that there's a big rock boss that you can climb up and put bombs on his weak point and like jump and sail away. That's incredible.
Yeah, Taluses are a lot of fun too.
What I'm saying is the main chunk of the game that's supposed to be the narrative part of the game is boring. Like
No, but that's not. You just said the overworld is really fun, but then the overworld is absolutely the main part. You spend like less than 1% of your time fighting the blights
We should-
compared to what you do doing
we should
everything
have
else.
an
but
episode about
but
this.
the narrative goals of those things are like what
No,
drives you forward
There
in
was
the game.
so you could say that you didn't like the narrative. We'll wrap it up, George. But
Yeah.
you could say that you didn't like the narrative
what I-
because the narrative wasn't
let-
the main
let me
focus.
sum-
because
let-
that's
let
true.
me
The
sum-
narrative was.
Let me sum it up with this. I want Ocarina of Time dungeons, Breath of the Wild overworld outside of those dungeons.
You can't have that. You can't
let me
have-
finish. Let me finish. Where when you get to the bosses, now instead of just using the one puzzle item to beat them, you can use all of the ways that you have mastered in the outside world to fight them. But with that same structure of actually being like a big area that's uniquely themed with a unique boss that matches the area.
Well, right. I mean, that would be cool, but that would also be a Zelda boss that's better than any Zelda boss that has ever existed. Like, even if you make the complaint about
that's
the blights,
that's what I expected out of Breath of the Wild. I expected the bosses to be just as good as the rest of the game.
And that's what I'm telling you. So what I'm saying is, you have these old games, and you look at these old Zelda bosses, and you think that they're really good bosses, and then you take an old Zelda boss and you put it in Breath of the Wild, and you realize, oh, wait a minute, this is actually shit. Because compared to the rest of the game, that's so much better. This isn't satisfying anymore.
Well, I think,
and that was my root point. That you're essentially proving my root point.
I think
you can't just take an old Zelda boss and redo it anymore.
Those bosses,
because it's not fun
Those
anymore.
bosses match their experience, and that's why they're so fun. Is because they match the experience. I think the Breath of the Wild bosses don't match the rest of the experience.
Breath of the Wild raises the bar in so many ways that it becomes easy to notice the areas that it didn't raise the bar. And I guess I think it's important to recognize that it's not that these areas are weaker.
I think
it's that the bar has been raised higher elsewhere.
I think they misprioritized.
Oh, they absolutely didn't.
All right, enough. I said 100.
If the overworld wasn't fun and the bosses were, that game would suck.
If I said it once, I said it 100 times now. What you're going to do is in its own episode. Stop before I delete all of it.
Jeez.
Man, Mike, have you heard of this guy? What's with this guy's
Also,
problem?
Zelda was my number 3, so I'm very quickly going to say that I think my favorite thing about Breath of the Wild was that there are so many different ways to travel through the world. You can shield surf, you can glide, you can ride horses, you can climb, anything. And I think that that's something that a lot of open world games lack, is just anything besides just walking in a straight line for 10 hours, actually adding some variety to the movement.
Yeah.
Anyway, my number 1 might be a little unexpected. It's Hollow Knight.
Hollow Knight. What was but an honorable mention on 2 other lists is made number 1 for George.
I think that Hollow Knight is so perfectly designed. It's so rare that I see a game where like I literally can't say anything negative about it. I can't think of anything negative about it. I legitimately can't. The only things I could possibly think of are like, oh, maybe they could have could have had this and it could have been really cool. But Hollow Knight, everything works together so well. There's so many little quirks in the design that make it feel really good. I can't count how many times I've played roguelikes where like, oh, you navigate upwards and you go up and you fall back down, or some stupid BS like that. And any time there's a little quirk that pisses me off in another like Metroidvania or similar game, Hollow Knight has like fixes for all of them. It feels so fun to play. Nothing feels unfair, but the game is hard as hell. It's just like I might have to play it again just to get a better idea of how I feel about it specifically. But like everything feels so good. The world is amazing. I love the world of Hollow Knight. It's one of the most interesting worlds I've played in a game for a very long time. It's so unique. Everything looks amazing and beautiful and gorgeous. All of the settings, every setting I go to, I'm always excited when I go into a new setting because everything is so unique and weird.
Hollow Knight is the Dark Souls of Metroidvania in every way. Like I'm not even saying that. I'm not even saying that for the meme. It's completely 100% true. If you think about it.
Well, it has like the Souls like system where if you die, you lose your currency and you have to go gather it back up.
Not even just the soul, like the main mechanic of having to go get your souls back, but the fact that all of the way it structures the fights, how individually enemies can kill you, but by you observing them, that's how you progress. And
that's just another thing that I absolutely love is like the way the enemies telegraph their movements and stuff makes so much sense, but you still have to like go through and learn it, and it's just it's really well done. I love the art.
Yep, the big boss set pieces, right? Definitely very Dark Souls, and the fact that they're also damn hard.
It's also a game I might have to look into this because I heard that. The game has multiple branches, and so and so regardless of where you go,
and that's another thing that
forward.
Well, that's what Dark Souls does. Is you go to a part of the game and you see that it's too hard for you right now, and that tells you that that's not where you're supposed to go. Hollow Knight also 100% like that.
Hollow Knight does such a good job with guiding, and I don't even know how it does it. You guys know me; I'm like the most lost person in the world. I get lost no matter what I do. I can't make my way around a neighborhood. Like,
and then even down to the way you learn about the lore through the UI. Hollow Knight even does that. Like the spiders quotes about all the enemies that you kill and stuff are some of the best parts of the game.
Hollow Knight is a game to me where like I don't know where to go next, and I just go wherever I think makes the most sense, and it's always true. It's always right. It's always where I'm supposed to go. It's insane.
and that's the mark of a well-designed level, is that exact thing.
And some spoilers, not for like the end of the game. I actually haven't even beaten it. I'm still going through it. But some spoilers for near the end of the game. But having it where the whole entry area that you've been going through this whole game, that has been like your hub for like the rest of the world, just changing, I think halfway through the game or so, because it's become corrupted, is like so cool.
Yeah. I still haven't finished it, so I don't know what like the Hollow Knight's 100% connection is with the Underground Kingdom. But the theme of corruption, the theme of corruption seems to be everywhere.
It's so well done. I absolutely loved it.
Okay, that's everybody. What do you...
That's everyone who's important, you know?
I mean, damn. I have a sneaking suspicion that Mike's number one game is not going to be a very number one game at all.
Probably not. For the same reason that George's number one game is purely due to design, I'm going to say my number one game is definitely Undertale for the last decade.
Oh, really?
Yes, without a doubt. I know you maybe were thinking I was going to say Bloodborne or something. I just want to give an honorable mention to FromSoft in general. You take a team that came out with like a game that kind of revolutionized how to do action adventure games again in 2011 with Dark Souls, and then in 9 years you come out with just like hit after hit after hit, culminating in fucking Bloodborne. Like, just bravo, right? They can take a bow without a doubt. Like, that's like I said before the recording, they're just the Metallica of freaking game design studios right now. Just like album after album, all in like fucking 5 years.
They're like the Metallica in that only old army boomers like them.
Yeah, the old army boomers just love Bloodborne. I'm constantly getting just all these MAGA chants when I'm freaking getting people in the game with me.
Okay, but tell us about the real... That's enough about honorable mentions. Tell us about the real choice. What is this Undertale game? Why haven't I heard of it before?
Undertale?
So Undertale, yeah, of course, needs no introduction, right? Everyone knows what Undertale is. But I think everybody who is just tangentially aware of Undertale and hasn't actually poured all of... It doesn't even take that long to completely like 100% it. Maybe like less than 20 hours, I would say. But those 20 hours are going to be better and like more meaningful to you, like ultimately, more than any other game you're going to play, like for fucking years. And that's the way I feel about it, at least the first playthrough. I don't think it has really strong replayability, but the experience you have playing Undertale is really incredible if you actually like invest yourself in the game.
So I have a hot take for you, Mike.
Yeah.
I think that Undertale used to be the best game of the decade, but is now, with the additional context and the additional content that surrounds the game, no longer good enough to count.
Because of Deltarune, you mean?
No. Because if you're somebody who is aware of Undertale and the game that it's supposed to be, and like, if you're somebody who's on the internet at all, then the experience is essentially ruined for you, and you can't actually appreciate the game in the proper way.
Sure, if you have weak will.
No, I mean, it's not even about that. Like, my little brother, before he ever knew what Undertale was, he knew who Sans was. And that's not his fault, that's just the internet's fault.
Right. I think after that, I think maybe... Yeah, I don't know. Because I come from a perspective where I watched Donkey's video on Undertale, and it didn't spoil it for me at all, because like I had no context to what I was seeing. So
that was like before the game had exploded. Like,
I guess that's true.
I don't think it's fair to judge a game based on the context around a game.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's like saying that Usual Suspects is bad because Kevin Spacey is in it. It's like Kevin Spacey is a motherfucker.
It's more like saying that, like, I don't know, like, let's say every single copy of a game like had a failure on the disc where like it stopped working after a certain point, and like even ROMs were affected by this.
The issue is not
it's like
on
in the
game.
Code. For some reason, in the code, the game can't be played after 2020. I'm telling you, hypothetically, if that happened, you could say, oh well, after 2020, it's not as good of a game anymore. And in this case,
because if it doesn't work, if it doesn't work anymore, then yeah.
Well, I'm just presenting it as a theory. I think that if you're somebody who uses the internet and are familiar with gaming in any capacity and you haven't played Undertale yet, it's like almost too late for you.
But you're
Maybe.
saying that like I'm saying you shouldn't judge the game by things that aren't related
Right,
to the game.
and I'm
you're
saying
like,
if you
well,
know
but it's
nothing
like-
about
but it's
Undertale,
like-
you should go play it. But if you know
And you're
everything
saying-
about
but it's
Undertale,
like-
you probably won't enjoy it as much. That's what I'm saying.
But it's like if the game was different, that's not
I
a good comparison.
I'm
you could
saying
still-
your
I think you could
knowledge
still
of the game
enjoy it.
changes the experience more than any other game.
I do think you can still enjoy it. I mean, even if you know Sans is in there, like
It's not about
you
knowing,
don't know 90%
just
of the
knowing
game.
that like somebody telling you, oh, there's a pacifist route and there's a genocide route, and you have to go and try to spare
that-
everybody one time, and you have to go and try to kill everybody one time. Knowing all that alone already
that kind of
kinda
spoils
ruins
it. But you're
It
you're
spoils it a little
spoiling
bit,
that.
but I don't-
You're
but I
spoiling it right now.
Oh my! If
God.
somebody's listening to this podcast, they know what Undertale is.
Larry didn't know what Undertale
I'm
was.
sorry,
until today.
Larry.
Fuck, Larry.
Dude, we lost our only viewer. He's gone now. He's no, but listen, like even if you were to argue, like I would say that it does spoil it a little bit if you know about the different routes. But I would also say that that doesn't mean the entire game isn't the pacifist route. There's a lot of stuff in the game, like the different characters you meet, the way you play the battles, the way the battles play out themselves, being crazy, the writing.
Okay. Look, I'm
all
not
this
trying
other
to.
stuff.
I'm not trying to die on this hill. All I'm trying to say is, if you are somebody who hasn't played this game yet, the less you know, the better.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah,
It's
I agree.
not. It's a game that will not hit you as efficiently if you spoil all the plot points for yourself.
Hey Mike, you want to hear something really sad? You want to hear a sad story? Like, George has never heard the song "Battle of a True Hero." He's literally never heard it.
Wait, why?
Because he doesn't want to listen to
never-
it until he plays the genocide route, and he hasn't
I
played
never
the genocide
played the
route.
genocide route.
I'm.
He's heard
Okay.
Megalovania, but only like the first 10 notes over and over again.
Yeah, because that was the meme. The meme was and it's like about as much as I've heard.
So he literally hasn't heard Megalovania. And he's living his
mean-
life.
Yeah, I don't know, man. If the thing that I think is crazy about Undertale is what I would recommend to somebody is if you play the pacifist route first, don't play the genocide route because you're just going to feel bad about yourself.
That's
And
exactly.
I can't
That's why George won't play it,
and-
because we keep telling him.
and
we keep telling him he's
I
gonna feel
think-
horrible.
I think that you are doing the right thing, George, because when I play Undertale, dude, like I talk to all the characters, I see them living their lives, I see all the different ways that my actions as a player in this world are changing it, and it honestly makes me feel bad for them. And the game does such a good job of making you feel like such a piece of shit during the genocide route, like not like this is just like a game and oh have fun, kid.
I honestly-
but like
I really
what the fuck
wanna-
are you doing? Why are you doing this? You like all these characters. Why are you playing this? Why are you making these decisions? No other game makes you feel like that.
George, I'm gonna have you just take off your headset and then count to like 20, because I'm just gonna say one. I just gotta say one thing.
Okay,
And
I'll do like a tap on the desk when I.
I'll put a message in the Discord chat when it's time.
Okay.
And if you are a listener, Larry, if you're listening, if you don't want genocide spoilers, this is pretty much the most compelling part of the run. So don't listen. 3, 2, 1. What Mike is talking about is essentially like, as the game goes on, and people will complain about this. They'll say how like, oh, I didn't really like the genocide run because it wasn't really that fun. You know, oh, I had to keep grinding and killing every single enemy, and it just didn't feel. And like, that's the point. Like, you keep playing this game, and it becomes this meta theme of like, why are you doing this even though it's not fun? What are you getting out of this? And the game just looks at you through the screen essentially, and is saying to you like, what's wrong with you that you would want to do something like this? And like,
it's amazing that all the characters are these like goofy weirdos, but then you start this route and they all get serious because now they see you as a threat and not a friend anymore, and it's like it really hits you.
the absolute peak of the game, like Genocide Run, it gets unsettling when you get into Snowden and like the music's all fucked up and like everybody's gone and like the storekeeper's not there and like she's like left a note because she ran away, and like there's all these little things that like start building it up, but there's not a moment until you meet Undyne when they show you
Yes.
Monster Kid and you have to murder Monster Kid in cold blood. You have, in my opinion, Megalovania, not overrated, it's a perfect song, but like Battle with a True Hero, the song that plays when you're fighting True Undyne, absolutely far and away. George is getting mad that we haven't let him back in yet. absolutely far and away like the most emotionally impactful song. You're doing this fight and you're watching, and as you fight this character and you see her, her body is starting to lose its form because they have this whole, this whole greater theme about like, why that happens to them.
About determination.
And like she's just holding on, and she's like, and you realize like I'm not the hero, she's the hero.
Yes, dude.
And then after she dies and there's no sound except for like, because you're in that area where it's waterfall, it's just like this like soft static. And you're just sitting there and you're left alone with yourself and you've watched her fucking melt into nothing.
Yes.
And oh my God, I have never felt worse in a video game than that moment.
And the fact that they're talking about anime the whole time, like it's funny. But then in that moment, you see why people watch anime and get connected with the characters. Because Undyne is a true hero. And she will see you defeated. And she's going to do every cheap thing she can to stop you at this point and hold herself together. And you almost like don't want to win. You're like,
yeah, dude.
You respect her too much.
So again, if you're still listening, that was dumb of you. If you're still listening, you didn't play the game. Bad idea. But like, it actually makes me really happy that the Sans fight is so much more blown up, because the Undyne fight is the true moment, and I'm really glad that people don't get shown that as often without having played the game.
Yeah, it really is the moment that where you.
Okay, I'm letting George back in, so no more spoilers.
Oh, one more.
Oh,
all right.
Hello, I'm back.
All right, close your ears one more time, George, just for 10 seconds.
No,
right.
Oh my God.
All right, so the one moment in the game that actually made me pause, whereas in games, whatever, like I'll say yes or no, I don't care, because I'm just trying to see the content, is at the end, it says that if you really want to see this world returned back to the way that it is, you need to give us your soul. I'm not talking about this game. I'm talking about you, the player behind the monitor, need to surrender your soul, your very immortal soul to us to restore these characters. And if you're a person who like actually believes in stuff like that, like that's not like a mild request to ask of somebody, you know?
Dude, when they asked me that, and I said yes because I wanted it to go back and I wanted to see what happened. When I found out what happens when you go and do another pacifist run, I got so freaked out that I went in and I like looked up like where, like show me every place that Undertale saves a file on my computer so I can remove it. I don't want any reference. I want to make sure that it knows that this didn't really happen. Like doing everything I can.
Yeah, dude, that one little twist I think is one of like the cherries on top.
Okay, George is getting too antsy. He's gonna scream.
Let him back in.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, and the biggest spoiler of all, like I was saying.
Oh,
hello.
Man. And
is the part where Frisk himself turns out to be President Trump in disguise.
Right?
You guys realize
the Trump
that,
angle was weird.
Oh crap, George! I didn't know you came back. Shoot.
Shit.
You guys realize I'm gonna have to edit this, right?
Oh yeah, that's true.
Oh my God! I thought Mike was editing it.
Just from the last 10 minutes, just don't listen to them. Just put them in there the way they are.
Okay, I'll just put them in there.
Oh my gosh. Well, okay.
But yeah, I think that was a very comprehensive list.
And in conclusion, that's why Sans is in Super Smash Brothers.
So, do we want
A flower wishbone.
to continue? What do you think?
We can if you want.
I was noticing
Before
something about a lot of Mike's choices.
Oh.
I feel like I noticed that like 89% of Mike's choices were actually indie games the whole time.
That makes sense.
I told you, man, AAA gaming is dead to me.
Well, before we move away from best games of the decade, I wanna just declare the worst game of the decade.
Oh no!
Paper Mario Sticker Star. Okay, we can move
on.
on.
Yeah. Oh no, yeah. What is your worst game of the decade, Ryan?
So obviously the worst game of the decade is not the objectively worst game of the decade. It's
just
the most well-known and potentially popular game that you despise and think is terrible.
I think Ryan and I are gonna have the same one. In fact, we might all have the same one.
And,
I think we do.
Okay, on three.
Okay.
1, 2, 3.
Grand Theft Auto 5.
Dear Esther. Oh man.
Grand Theft Auto 5 is far and away the most overrated piece of schlock, of AAA true crapped out schlock that there has been in the last 10 years.
Oh my God. Grand Theft Auto 5 is probably the most time I've ever put into a game that I genuinely ended up hating.
I mean, oh man, this I honestly want to have be its whole own video. But
yeah,
like,
this should be its own episode, 100%.
George and I were playing through Grand Theft Auto and just constantly joking about how terrible every mechanic was, and every time we thought it couldn't get worse, it did. Every time we thought, surely they won't do this horribly stupid, terrible thing, and then they do it.
Yeah.
You have a... Oh, my gosh. You got me worked up, George. You shouldn't have said it. Mike, what'd you say? Did you say Dear Esther?
I did say Dear Esther.
Mike, the game has to actually be a game to qualify as the worst game.
There you go. That's
You
all
might
that
as well
needs
have
to be
said, like,
about
The
it.
Hunger Games was the worst game. It's just like the book. It doesn't make any sense. One thing I did want to do, actually, I pulled up a couple of them over here.
Oh, yeah.
Now that you guys have gotten to appreciate true professionals providing you with a list, we're going to go and look at some famous other lists that have been made.
I like the game with the cop in it, and he shoots people, and I like it because I like shooting people.
So right off the bat, we're going to start with Polygon. Don't worry, I'm running ad block on their website. Don't worry. Both Destiny 2 and Titanfall 2 are the top games of the decade for Polygon.
I haven't played Destiny 2, but every single person I know who has played Destiny 2 hates it. Even the people who still play Destiny 2 that I know just hate it.
Destiny 2 is objectively not very good.
So wait, they have Destiny 2 but not Destiny 1?
They do not have Destiny 1.
What the hell? Like,
Destiny
the people I
1 is
know
a much better game.
who like Destiny hate Destiny 2, and the people I know who play Destiny 2 are like, yeah, but Destiny 1 is better. I just don't understand. That's weird.
Yeah, man. I don't
I guess
know.
I haven't played it, so I can't say, but...
Coming from someone that used to do World of Warcraft, like, raid bosses, Destiny's, like, the sloggiest fucking game. Where you have a boss that just has literally millions of fucking HP, and you can only do, like, 3 things to it. And you just have to sit there and pump it full of bullets for fucking ever. And why would anyone ever want to do this?
Other key entries from the Polygon list. I feel like they're just memeing me at this point. But they have Kim Kardashian's Adventure or something like that. They have the game Warframe, which is an absolutely garbage title. And it's a game that has great mechanics and the worst level design and enemy design that you've ever seen. It completely negates any of the mechanics in the game because you can't actually use
I think that game is pretty popular. If Larry was still here, he'd probably have a word with you.
Yeah, it is really popular because Brazilians have no standards. They play anything that's free.
Cut it out.
Larry, buddy.
Larry from Brazil.
No, dude. So Warframe has some of the best like parkour mechanics in any game. It's so fun. Like the 3-dimensional movement in Warframe is so much fun, and every single level is only one layer. It just does, and every single enemy just stands completely still and shoots you. And it's like, why am I the fastest, most amazing ninja robot if every enemy acts like they're a Borderlands enemy? It just stands there. It's like it could have been a great game, but like the level design just completely neuters it. Yeah.
You look boring to me.
I think it's interesting we went through this whole list and never once mentioned League of Legends, even once.
League of Legends didn't come out in 2010.
You guys mentioned
Came out
it before.
pre-2010.
Oh, did it?
Yeah. I looked at League of Legends and I thought about it, but that's why I didn't have it anywhere.
I remember you guys mentioned
That's crazy.
that like
I didn't realize
one
there's an out for that
one specific release of League of Legends was the best one. You guys said.
From
Some other
I only ever played Teemo.
some other top
Oh,
100 lists.
which champ is the
not
best?
trying to-
Oh, that'd be a good list.
If you like this game, I'm not trying to tell you that you're wrong for liking this game, but if you think that Life is Strange is the #1 game of the decade, that's a bad choice.
I think, yeah. Someone said that Last of Us was the best game of the decade, and it's like Last of Us is good, but my God, it's not the best game of the decade. People applaud games because they're movies.
I actually see-
They're like, oh, that's a good story, and I'm just like,
That's exactly what it is. I think the more casual audience looks at it like a movie and not like
That's
something I got to figure out
That's a
how to
whole
do.
conversation I would love to have, though.
I
Is just the AAA obsession with let's make a movie instead of a game.
I mean, to me, the conversation is just as simple as like if you ask somebody what their favorite part of a game was and they say the story, that's like not a good sign at the very least.
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily
exactly.
eliminate it. Like you would say that the story of Undertale is the best part, but like,
Yeah.
it's a red flag for sure.
If it's a game where
I
the
just think-
character on the cover has a gun or a sword, and you say the best part is the story, then yeah, that's probably a shit game.
And again, I'd like to have a whole episode about it, but I think the major difference between saying something like my favorite part about Undertale is the story and my favorite part about Last of Us is the story is that in Undertale, the story is part of the game. It's part of the gameplay. In Last of Us, the story is cutscenes.
Well, and exactly, the story is delivered through your own choices. The story is not delivered because it's shown to you. All the things that Mike and I were talking about while you were gone, those all happened because of things that you did and decisions that you made. And so you're experiencing the story, and that's why it's so powerful.
And the
like,
story,
it's not to
the
say-
story recognizes that it's inside of a video game, which
Well,
is
that's more
ultimately
specific.
how it
It's not
ties
to
in.
say, well, I guess from a literal perspective it does, but also from a design perspective, the game realizes that it's a game and that the story needs to be part of the game. Last of Us has elements of that, and I think that those elements are done well, but it's certainly like most of the major points of Last of Us, like if you were asking me to pick out what my favorite story bits from The Last of Us were, it'd all be cutscenes. The final cutscene, that's my favorite part of the story, is that very final cutscene.
Yeah, I remember you telling me,
is
oh, this
nothing-
game is so cool, you got to see the part with the giraffes. It's just like, okay.
But like it doesn't actually have anything to do with like my love for the story has almost nothing to do with the game itself. Whereas in Undertale, a lot of what I love about the story is directly tied to the game, to the way the characters interact with you. The fact that every character has their own crazy battle gimmick, basically.
But yeah, and so like,
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
and even, look, you can't even say that Life is Strange was the best story of the decade. So like, even then, it's not even that good. I just don't, why are there so many lists with Life is Strange as number one? Like,
Probably because
sure,
they
put it as like
gave
number
them the
80
most,
if you want it, but like, don't put it as number one, you maniac.
They gave them the most advertising dollars, so that they're number one in their hearts. You know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm just gonna make a quick list of a bunch of titles that I keep seeing over and over again in a lot of these top 10 lists that just absolutely don't belong there. Number one, Fortnite. You can like Fortnite. Fortnite is a very culturally impactful game. Fortnite is not the best game of the decade or even close.
If your list is supposed to be measured by cultural impact, though, that makes sense.
Yeah, if it's measured by profits, then Fortnite is one of the best.
You know,
In the
let me-
same way, I've seen a lot of people listing Skyrim for its cultural impact. Although I wouldn't personally say that it's like as good as people say it is.
See, Skyrim to me is an honorable mention because like it's not about the cultural impact, it's just the fact that everybody likes Skyrim. Like
That's kind of
just
cultural
about
impact.
everybody can pick up that game and play it and have a good time. And it's just like the most video game that there ever was. Like when it came
makes
out,
sense.
I don't know.
That makes sense. I think Odyssey has met that to an extent as well.
See, I don't think it does. I think that there's a lot of people who play Odyssey and they're just like, oh, I don't like platformers. I don't think anybody picks up Skyrim and they're just like, oh, I don't like adventure games. Like, it just has a little something that, like, I don't think I've ever met a person who didn't like Skyrim at least a little. Unless they didn't
I
play
don't know. I
it.
think for me at least, Mario Odyssey is one of the most like easy to pick up and play games that I've played in my entire life.
The argument that I'm
That was a
making is
game
why
where
Skyrim is like a perfect 8 out of 10, not like a, we're talking about the best games. And Odyssey, I'd way sooner put as a best game than Skyrim.
Yeah.
Skyrim, I was just considered
that's true.
just a great game. But dude, Fortnite. Fortnite mechanically, we could talk about this more later if we want to, but I hate the mechanics of Fortnite. I don't think they're any good at all. I don't understand. Like if you compare them to other battle royale games, like if you compare it to Apex Legends is far and away just better in like in anything except for aesthetics, because you could say that's subjective. But like outside of aesthetics, like the mechanical elements of Apex are so much better and so much more fluid and like the building in Fortnite, the main mechanic, it makes no sense. It's terrible. Like
I only played 2 battle royales so far. One of them is PUBG, which is a hot pile of fucking garbage. That game sucks, and anyone who thinks it's anything good is completely wrong. The only thing it has is that it kind of popularized the battle royale genre.
yeah, I mean
And
it
the
can
other one
claim
is
that it
Tetris
invented
90
it, so it's just it
And then the other one is
pass.
Tetris 99, which is the best game of all time.
Oh, we didn't even give
That
Tetris 99 honor. I don't think it deserves one. It doesn't deserve an honor. It's just a good game.
Is that the website? What was that?
Tetris 99? No, it's a Switch game.
It's just a bunch of people playing
battle
Tetris
royale
at once.
That's cool.
It's like a battle royale, but also not really like a battle royale.
That's a fun game.
It is fun. I don't want to just sit and bash on Fortnite, but I just want to make sure that it's been clear. The building mechanics of
I
Fortnite.
think-
It's been a long time since I've played as well, so maybe they've updated it in later seasons. But early Fortnite, having it be so that like somebody can just instantly create like 4 layers of tower just by spinning their mouse around and flying up into the air, and just like the building is so quick. There's no thought put into the building essentially to make it a multiplayer game. They took this mechanic that was built entirely around a single player PvE system, and they just changed nothing and expected it to work, and everybody just accepted it because like, oh well, this is how it is, you know. And
Well, I think Fortnite is popular not because of the mechanics, and I think that's why it makes you mad. No one likes it because of it's a good game. They like it because
no, it doesn't make me mad that it's popular. It makes me mad that it got put on a top 10 list. That's the only thing.
Well, that's the only reason it's on the top 10 list, is just because it's popular.
Well, yeah, but I mean, and
I think the way they do the ranking is so much better, because unlike League or something where you got to be a part of like a professional sports organization basically to ever be a part of this, in Fortnite you can just be really really good and end up winning like $1,000 for that season because you play this fucking game all the time.
So you're telling me,
You know what I mean?
you're telling me that you think that Fortnite, Pokemon Go, Grand Theft Auto 5, League of Legends, which didn't even come out in 2000, they even have it listed as 2009, and Candy Crush Saga, you think that's a good 2010 list? I'm not having it. That's Business Insider. Nobody click on
That's
that.
a list. That's a list of like probably the most profitable and the most normie games.
I can't check because they won't let me go on their site with an ad blocker. And as a matter
But
of
that's
principle,
probably
I don't.
being that it's Business Insider. That's probably their entire. Like that's probably their entire scale.
But
I'm just saying,
if
Pokemon Go said that at the end of this like 6-month period, if you've caught the most Pokemon, we'll send you like fucking $5,000, then Pokemon Go would be a way more popular game.
I mean, Pokemon Go was an absolute
and that's why
phenomenon
Fortnite is
when
popular.
it came out. Like everybody
Mike,
played that game.
Pokemon won't even give $5,000 to Game Freak to work on Pokemon Sword and Shield. What makes you think they're going to give $5,000 to their players?
No, I'm just saying that's why Fortnite is so popular. It's because you can win money playing.
I do want to point out one thing. I don't have like an aggregate of every single list or anything, but from what I can see, Red Dead Redemption seems to have done much better than Red Dead Redemption 2 on a lot of these lists.
Oh, really? I heard a lot of people, like, the popular opinion was basically that
Because
2 was much better.
Because Red
But
Dead
that was the
Redemption,
popular opinion. I doubt it's true.
I didn't hear that as
Red
the
Dead
popular
Redemption-
opinion. It's funny.
Red Dead Redemption between the first one and the second one is the same thing as Grand Theft Auto between the third one and the fifth one.
Yeah. Like, that's how I feel. That's how, if I were to guess, that's how
Well,
I
but I
think it would
mean,
be.
but Grand Theft Auto 3 is so much better than Grand Theft Auto 5. What do you mean?
Exactly. Exactly.
Well, Red Dead Redemption 1 is so much better than Red Dead Redemption 2. Like in every
Oh,
way.
wait, I get what you're saying. Only people that have taste can understand it, but a lot of people would just be like, oh, new thing, good. I like new thing.
Yeah, it's once again this amazing overworld, but when you sit down and do the actual quests, they're not as good as they should have been. It's a misprioritization. Like the overworld can be amazing, but the quests are the goals of the game.
Mike, how dare you accuse the company that put time and resources into horse testicles of being bad at prioritizing?
Yeah, I think a lot of companies do that. I think the
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah.
I never
reason-
played Red Dead 2
there-
because I had just recently played Grand Theft Auto 5 with George right before it came out, and I wasn't going to be burned again by Rockstar.
I stand by the only Rockstar game I'll ever play is if they make a Bully 2, and I'm not expecting to like it either.
Oh,
But
dude.
specifically,
because it'll be an open world game where you like can walk to the mall and shit, and like the actual
I
bullying
love
will
Bully.
be like you just
Oh
do
my
it 10% of the
God.
time.
what I understand about the Red Dead 2 general opinion, like pretty much every review I ever saw is just like, oh man, this game starts out and it's so amazing, and then you keep playing it and it just turns into a slog and it's really boring. And it just wastes a
Sounds
bunch
like
of your
every
time.
Rockstar game except for Bully.
And it just sounds
All-
like exactly GTA 5. Yeah.
All I end up doing is just living in the woods and hunting. That's like literally all I do when I play Red Dead Redemption.
Oh man.
I guess what Rockstar games are good, like, story-wise until the end. I think Red Dead Redemption 1, from what I've heard, right?
Every single one is good story wise until the end. Every single.
No,
Rockstar
I
game.
mean, even up to the end is what I mean. Like
Oh,
everything,
none.
the
Then
whole
none.
thing.
Then not a single one.
Which
I would say.
Rockstar game is good to the end, you're saying?
Yeah,
I would say not a single one.
I would agree with Mike.
I think Bully.
The one that gets
Bully's
the
the
closest
only-
to me is San Andreas, and that one isn't very good either.
Bully and GTA 5 are the only ones I finished,
would-
and I remember I was enjoying the GTA 4 story a lot, but because of how long it was, I just never beat it.
Grand Theft Auto 2's story is the best. Vice City, but only because it ends so fast and it doesn't just go on and on and on about nothing.
Wait, was 2 Vice City?
Yeah,
Yeah, Vice City.
I thought Vice City
I
came
didn't know
after
that.
3.
Vice City might just be its own
It
thing,
did.
actually.
Well,
I
Grand
think
Theft
there's a
Auto.
Grand Theft Auto 2.
Grand Theft Auto 3 2 is Vice City. I
Oh,
guess.
okay.
Okay.
Because there is a Grand Theft Auto 2. I got confused.
Yeah, and that's mostly what I'm talking about. Like, honestly, I think probably the better stories in Rockstar, the shorter the story is, the better it's going to be for Rockstar, because the main problem I have with most Rockstar games is that the stories become so bloated that I drop interest, and in the cases where I don't, like in Grand Theft Auto 5, I end up regretting it completely because it ends up like garbage.
Because they'll keep
I will
adding
say,
beats, and
like-
you'll think, like, oh, man, I wonder where this is going to go. Like, oh, man, I wonder what's going to happen with this guy. And then the answer is just every time, nothing. Like,
Yeah.
It's one of the reasons I love the From games so much, is because in any game, no matter what it is, the goal of what you're trying to do is the reason you do everything else. Like, you run around and explore and experiment with all the shit because you're gearing up to go beat this guy so you can see the end credits, and that's the end of the game, right? So unless the game has just no objectives, then that should be your prioritization, is what is the goal? What do I do to prepare for the goal? And how fun is that process?
And Ryan, I know you haven't, but Mike, have you beaten Bully?
No, I haven't beaten Bully.
I would say Bully
I've
is-
beaten like 2 Rockstar games, dude. They're just
I
the
would say
story's not
Bully
worth it.
is a game that, like, is the story that the missions are good from beginning to end. And I think that the reason for that is because the game is separated into very clear chunks of, I need to recruit the bullies, I need to recruit the prefects, I need to recruit the greasers. You're recruiting like every sector of the school under your basically leadership. And then at the very end, the final chapter is just everything going to hell, and then you have to do the final battle. It goes exactly where you'd expect it to. It doesn't feel too bloated, and I absolutely love it.
I should give that
I've
game
even
another
wanted
chance.
to replay it, which is something that I like don't do for Rockstar stories.
Isn't your character supposed to be gay too? Isn't that like a part of the game?
You can kiss boys. I don't know if they ever specifically specify if he has a preference.
I'm just saying
But
that would be amazing
can-
to show why he's such a bully. Is because he's going with the struggle, you know.
I found a couple other lists that linked or that put Mario Maker in their top 10s. I think that's pretty cool.
I think it's a great choice, personally.
Yeah, I do think it deserves it.
Yeah, I guess that's probably it, right?
That's it. That's every
We've been
single
going
game.
We've been going for like almost 2 hours.
I suppose we could call it. Say, yeah. So there was a few other things that I wanted to talk about, but we could always just put them off for the next episode. I think that's fair.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for tuning in, Larry. Hopefully next time we'll have a few more viewers than just you.
Right. If
Have fun over in Brazil or whatever.
every single game we talked about are all highly worth at least 10 hours of your time.
No, that's not
So-
true. Grand Theft Auto 5 is not worth your time. Life is Strange is not worth your time.
So go give these guys money because no one else is gonna. So
Who's our guest star for the next episode?
Oh, please.
Guest stars.
next star, Hideo Kojima himself is gonna come and talk about some of the shortfalls of Death Stranding and
Yeah.
Oh, man. So
Dead Straining.
we may decide to change our topic, so don't hold us to it, viewers. But next time on Pillars of Salt, tune in when we talk about more amazing games that were actually terrible because of one single problem they had.
Oh.
Yeah, 'cause
that's interesting.
Starting with Hearthstone, which we already talked about, but then moving
Yeah,
on with the rest of
featuring
them.
Hideo Kojima's going to be there.
And Death
Yeah,
Stranding's a
he'll
great
be there.
example because
Yeah.
great game with it's the UI. It's the UI. That's the secret. Tune in next week to find out more. Thank you for tuning in. We appreciate you all.
Salt.
Bye.